All right, so we have Oceanside open, and we're on page 223. Now, the first thing that we want to talk about is adding keywords to our website. And we do this, and we only have to do this within the homepage of our website. So we have to think of some keywords that would go along with our website. Now, since this one is Oceanside, obviously we would want to come up with some keywords because it's a hotel. It's also a sports club. They have golf and they have tennis. Okay, so when I say keywords, what does that make you think of? Why would we want to pick keywords? Any ideas? Exactly, because whenever you Google it or you search in any search engine, you would want your website, okay, to pull up and be a website that would be available for a user to click on based upon the keywords that they typed in for their search. Okay, so for our Oceanside, we're going to make sure we're at the top of the document. And we're actually going to add this above the title tag. This is another meta tag. We already have our meta character set, but this is going to be keywords specifically. So you can see on page 224, in case you can't see it on the screen. So we're telling it, okay, we're establishing keywords here, and where we have content is the actual keywords that we are saying if anyone types these in to a browser like Google, and obviously you could have more than what they have determined for Oceanside. Notice that they are separated by commas, so every time there's a different basically cluster of word or words that you want to be a keyword, then you separate it by commas. Yeah.
So what's to stop you from just putting like every single word in the
Nothing.
language there?
There's nothing to stop you from that.
Does that benefit you?
No. The more specific that you can be in your keywords, the quicker that your website will move up in the listing of, because there might be, who knows, I haven't ever looked, but let's say for argument's sake, there's 50 websites that are titled Oceanside. Okay, you would want yours to be the first one to pop up, right? Because statistically speaking, most people in a search engine a lot of times click the very first link that pops up. So you would want yours to do that. This is one way to get we're going to talk about other ways to be able to move your website up in like a browser search so that it's closer to the top or at the top. Okay, when people type in keywords. So if you put every word in the English language in there, then when people actually type in, for example, Oceanside Hotel, maybe they type in the location. So if you had something here in Shelbyville, Indiana, chances are your website would pop up. If you put every word in the English language, when people are actually looking for the topic that your website deals with, it might be difficult for them to find because it's buried in with all these words. So I would pick keywords that go along with your website. We're going to do a little activity after this website project that we're going to start tomorrow. After you complete that, we're going to do a little activity about things that you could do if you were actually to take that website that you're going to create and try to promote it out on the web. What are some things that you could do? And one thing is, being really good at picking those keywords. Okay, keywords that really talk about your website specifically. Okay? All right, so there's our keywords that we would put in. The next meta tag that we're going to put in underneath this is a description. Do you guys ever notice when you Google something and the website listing comes up and let's say the very first website is Oceanside when we do this, and there's like sometimes a sentence or two underneath where you click on it that says, gives a description of what the website's about. Have you guys ever paid attention to that or noticed that? Okay, that's what we're setting up here within the description. Okay, so that when our website does pull up in a browser, then it gives a nice little description, so hopefully, again, you entice people to visit your website. Okay, so on the top of page 225 is where we have our description as far as the nice little sentence that describes everything kind of in a nutshell here that our Oceanside 5-page website offers. Now, you wouldn't want to get this too lengthy because even if you did make it really long, okay, each web browser only allows so many characters, so they're going to chop off your description if you get too wordy. So you want to come up with a description that is clear and concise, okay? In a sentence, no more than 2, sum up your website. Again, just for review, you only have to do this on the home page of your website. You don't have to put this on all the other pages, okay, because the browser's out there looking for your home page, okay, whenever you post it out on the web. Okay, so the important part is to have your keywords and your description on your index page. Okay. All right, so what else can we do besides adding keywords and description? That helps us kind of move up the process here of you don't want your website to be buried, on page 10. Most people don't have the patience or tolerance to go all the way to page 10, right? If it's not on page 1, exactly. Most people drive on, right? So this is one method that we can do, and if you combine kind of all these methods together that we're going to go over, then your website has a better shot of moving up in the browser. So hopefully you're number 1. If you're not number 1, hopefully you're at least on the first page, because I'm sure most of us are like Quinn. I know I am. If it's not on the first page, I'm done. I'm moving on to something else. I'm not going to sit there and spend all my time digging around for a website. All right, let's actually, you guys can save this. That's all we need to do. Make sure you save it so you've got a reference point whenever you get to the project so that you know how to do keywords and description. I'm actually going to go out to the internet, because another important factor of getting your website hopefully on the first page, if not the first slot of a web browser, is first of all, you need to make sure that you have a domain name. What's a domain name?
Like www. Whatever.
Right, oceanside.com or whatever your website is, right? You have to have that domain name, okay, as well, okay, or you need to have it. It's going to be a little difficult for people if they want to know your domain name and you say you don't have one, okay, to probably find your website. Take them a little more time, and as we've just discussed, people want data pretty quickly, right? We don't want to have to look around for it. Now, finding domain names can be a little frustrating. Okay, because a lot of domain names are already taken. Okay, so a lot of times the very first thing that pops in your head that you want might be something that's already taken. Okay, that's why sometimes when you look at people's domain name, you're like, Wonder where they came up with that. You want to try to match it, especially if you're a business. You want to match it with like your business name as much as possible. That only makes sense so that they go together. But sometimes if you have to add something onto it on the end, let's say that there are more than one Shelbyville high schools, but they're in different states. So, you know, if the one in Indiana was the first to claim ShelbyvilleHighSchool.org or .edu, the Shelbyville in Kentucky couldn't claim that one. Okay, they'd have to switch that up or add a 1 to it. At the end of Shelbyville High School, they would have to do something to try to find a domain name that wasn't already taken. Now, a good place to go, and let's hope this isn't blocked, because we know how it works around here, right? Check out page 226. Okay, a good place to start to find if a domain name is available is this internic.net. Now, this isn't the only place, okay, there's other places as well, but this one tends to have the extensive listing. Now, the problem is that when the internet first became available and people started realizing that domain names are going to be necessary and that people and businesses were going to want them, there were some people who were super smart and bought up a bunch of them. So then they could sell them and make money off of them later when someone wanted that name. So some of these are available for free, not too many anymore. Most of them, there is a fee associated with it. Go figure, right? So it's kind of broken down into sections here as far as the website. We're going to click on the Who Is section because we just want to do a Who Is search on, we're going to pick this one, OceansideHotel.com. Okay, you guys know there's a lot of extensions. There's .com, there's .org, there's .edu, okay, .net. So that's always an option as well. If the .org is taken or the .com, you know, are you willing to go another route instead of changing your domain name to something else? All right, so I just want to look for the domain name, so I'm going to leave that little button selected, and then I'm going to do a submit. All right. So this one's taken. Okay, it tells you who owns it. Fabulous.com owns it. That's what it says on here. All right, so then, you know, if we wanted to put our Oceanside Hotel website out here, we know that we couldn't go with oceansidehotel.com. Okay, as an option. Or if we are super attached to that and we don't want to change it, we can always contact the owner, which of course is listed here, and see if they would be willing to sell it. Okay, some people are. That's why they've bought them up, because they are wanting to sell these and make money off of them. My suggestion is you can get things for free, so why would you pay for them? You know, come up with an original name, change it up a little bit, do, you know, a little creativity on the name to try to come up with a domain name that's not going to cost you anything. Okay. However, some people are just, I've done different websites for different businesses, and they are just set on, you know, this being their domain name. And if they're willing to pay for it, okay, and you're just the web designer, then, you know, you can say, all right, well, if you're willing to pay for it, you know, it's their dime, right? Okay, so there is one way to find out if a domain name is available, and then give you the contact information of the owner of that domain name to see if they would be interested in selling it. Now, let's move on to, after you figured out a domain name and you've either paid for it or you have found one that no one owns. The next step in the process is to find a web hosting site. And there's so many out there now. Like, I'm just going to type in Google web hosting because there are tons available. Now, the first part of this kind of gives you a few sites that give you reviews over like the top 10 or maybe like the best of 2018. So, you know, they've already kind of done the research for you as far as fees and monthly charges, because unless you have your own server, if you have your own server, you don't have to worry, I'll spit all this out, worry about web hosting and paying for it. If you have your own server, you can put your own website on your own server and your own web hosting, okay? A lot of people don't have that capability. So there's services out there that provide that for people or companies who want to have websites out on the web, okay? Now, obviously there's always a charge to these, and we're not going to get into like super specifics here, but I always suggest, because especially in this class, I tend to have more people, obviously, since it's web design, but it's always amazing to me, people who contact me their freshman year of college and are like, hey, guess what, Mrs. Fox, I'm making some cash on the side making websites. Like, cool, that's awesome. That beats working at a job that you have like dedicated hours. You kind of work whenever you're free to work and get paid for it. And you can make some decent money developing websites, okay, for people, companies. I even know there's college students who have to create websites for different projects and post them out on the web. And, you know, some of them have never had any web development background at all. They don't even know where to begin. So there's where you step in and say, hey, for a fee, I'll set that up for you. And then go from there. So with the web hosting, my suggestion always is, just because it's the cheapest, don't necessarily go for it. You want to see what other features that are offered, because a lot of times, especially if they say it's for free, you're limited. You're limited on the space. Okay, so it's not going to let you upload a bunch of pictures and video. That's going to eat up space. So a lot of the things that say it's free web hosting, okay, it sounds great, you know, but how much space are they going to give me? Because if it's someone who has a lot of pictures that needs to be posted or videos, okay, that's going to eat up space. And yeah, free sounds great, but if it's not going to give you the kind of storage space that you need, you know your website is going to go beyond that, then, you know, paying for it or charging the person or the company that you're creating the website for would be the way to go. Okay, that's just part of the fees that you charge them. You charge them the web hosting fee, or you tell them they need to set it up so that they can pay for the web hosting online. Okay, so then you go on to any web hosting. This is GoDaddy. This is a popular one. You can look at the different options and pick the web hosting package that's right for you. Notice they even have it broken down between regular web hosting and business web hosting. So if you're serious about web design and creating websites and getting those published and posted out to the web, you know, this is going to be one of those things that you've got to spend a little time on to see which web hosting company that you want to go through. Now, there's usually a couple of ways to get your website published. Once you set up an account on one of these web hosting sites like GoDaddy, and you pay your monthly fee, then they will give you access to be able to basically upload all of the pages, all the images, all the video that go on your website. Okay, and once you do that, then your website becomes live. Now, something else that is nice about these web hosting companies is a lot of times they've kind of streamlined this process. Notice there's a link on GoDaddy that just says domains up there. Okay, it'll let you do a domain name search here, so you don't have to go to that other database. And then if there's a fee, then they can go ahead and charge you the fee for that instead of you having to contact the actual person who owns that. Yeah.
Poop.com is awarded $62,500.
I was going to say, I mean,
But it's not taken.
yeah. Well, who seriously is going to pay that? You got more money than you have sense if you would do that.
Welcome to domain.
Don't you, if you just had like a bunch of money,
Oh, well, that's what they did in the 90s when the World Wide Web started taking over. There was smart entrepreneurs who said,
What do you mean
ooh,
by nobody owns it? Is there nothing on the page?
somebody owns it. Somebody owns it, but it's for sale.
If you type in the domain, does it show up a page or like an error?
I don't know. I typed in pp.com and it's blocked. Of course you would.
Anywho,
Yeah, that's blocked.
okay, the last way, or the last thing that you need to focus on within your website. So after you get your web hosting set up, everything's looking good whenever you test all of your pages. You've got your domain name that you want, you've paid for it. I know some of the sites that I have done in the past, it's cheaper if you have them bill you just once a year. And then once a year they bill you for the domain name and they bill you for the web hosting. Okay, and some of the web hosting packages have all the security add-ons that you might want as well. So again, that's just something that you got to shop around for. Now, the last thing that you would need to do is to register your website, okay, with different search engines. Because if you register your website, that's just going to help move you up in the process of, being on the first page, or hopefully you would want to be the first website that pops up. That's what I thought. I thought they'd change that. Okay, so you would just want to visit all of the main web browsers like Google, Yahoo, Safari. I mean, I would pick the top 5 at least. So do some research. What's the top 5 web browsers that are popular right now? And make sure that you register your website with those browsers. That's also going to help move your website up in browser searches. Okay, so that's what special feature 1 focus is. Okay, so don't be surprised from here on out if you have to put keywords and descriptions into the homepage of any of the sites that you are creating. Okay, because that's just going to start becoming a habit, like all of the other tags have become habits, hopefully, like the title tag. Okay, doc type HTML. Okay, all of those. Okay, any questions over any of that?